I can feel it coming.
Live
Coming.
from Elon Musk's thoracic spine.
Oh.
It's a Twitter Thursday takeover edition of Business Pants, joined as always by Emma Lurkenstein, Maddie Mundane Mascardi. I'm the love child of Tony Blackrock and Debbie Vanguard. In today's CCP stained bag called April 14th, 2022, what does the Twitter board think about life? What are they thinking about right now? What's their... We're playing the Twitter board game. Come on. Yeah.
Yeah, I like the Twitter board game. That's the way to put it.
Okay, look, Matt started off the morning angry, saying he doesn't want to cover the story because everyone's covering the same way. So that's our job here, is to try to cover this in a different way. So that's what we're going to do. We're going to go over every single Twitter board member. We're going to decide once and for all, will they vote for Musk or against Musk? And then we're going to tell you what's going to happen, and that's it. Okay, you ready? You ready?
We're predicting the future. Let's predict the future.
Little bit of background, because there's probably a few of you who don't know. Crazy man, big baby Elon Musk is trying to buy Twitter.
Who saw that coming?
45 billion, did you say, dollars in cash? 45 billion.
48 billion in cash. Yeah, that's a big difference.
So he sent a letter.
Half of world hunger.
To Twitter chair Brett Taylor, and this is the great logic, because this is how things are decided after the past several days of thinking this over. So he's really done his due diligence here. This is a serious man. I have decided I want to acquire the company and take it private. That's what he sent.
He's
to
decided.
Twitter.
It's decided.
He's decided after several days.
Just mull it over.
Yeah,
Bye.
It took me several days to figure out the ferry schedule on an island where 20 people live. So
I don't buy like a cat scratching post without several days of due diligence. He's buying Twitter.
He also said this. He says, "I am not playing the back and forth game." He's going right. He's cutting right to the chase. It's a high price, and your shareholders will love it. That's what he said. That's very Trumpian.
I'm just saying, the king of the back and forth game? Hasn't this whole thing been a back and forth game thus far?
Yeah, but he's not playing it, Emma.
What is he? Is he living it? Is he living the game as opposed to playing the game?
Yeah, maybe I misread that. You're right. He's not actually living the back and forth. He's not playing it. And then he also said, "This is not a threat." And we all know when you say that, it is obviously a threat, right?
Yes. Yeah. Anyone who says this is not a threat is threatening you.
Because I've never said that. Who have I ever said that to? If I said it to my children, my wife, even to Emma, it's clearly a threat. You'd be scared, right? I mean,
when I yell like this, it's not a threat.
Hypothetically.
So he's basically saying, take it or leave it. If you don't take it, I'm out. I'm done.
Yep.
And just a little bit of background. Okay, first of all, I looked at all the. Okay, well, let me just tell you who owns Twitter as of now. There's actually 5 groups that own a combined 36% of Twitter. That's Vanguard Group, Elon Musk, Morgan Stanley, BlackRock, and Jack Dorsey. Okay, so we did dig a little bit into the voting policies of Vanguard, BlackRock, ISS. ISS actually has a lot of control because they think they have a lot of control. They like to tell their clients how to vote. I don't know. I couldn't really figure anything out. I mean, they want to know about fairness. They want to know about how the deal was negotiated. I don't know. I mean, from the perspective of a quasi-intelligent person, I would think that everyone would tell their clients, absolutely no, this is a mess, right? But Matt thinks they'll all just rubber stamp this.
I mean, look, it's Scott Galloway pointed out this morning already that $54 is the price he offered for Twitter. It was just trading around 45 now. It was like 30 something when Elon started taking a stake.
But what was it in February 2021?
In July of 2021, it was 73. So,
yeah, it was $77. Yeah,
something like that,
exactly.
Right?
So I don't get why this is so great. But anyway, you said that he also said that this is probably a cover to bail from his.
Yeah. So Galloway got my theory out before I got my theory out because he's on Twitter and I'm not on Twitter. And I have 4 followers and he has 400,000. So all of those things combined to no one cares what I think now. But my first reaction was, if you wanted to dump your shares, don't you give like a low premium? First of all, everything he's done is basically illegal up till now. Filing as a passive investor, then having to change it to active once he was offered the board seat, said he was going to take the board seat, then realized he couldn't buy any more shares, which was the whole fun point of this thing, to troll through buying shares and doing dumb polls. And on the board, you're a fiduciary. So then he says, I'm not going to join the board. And then immediately upon saying, I'm not going to join the board, he goes and says, I want to buy the company. But really, he's sitting on a 9% share of something that he did probably while he was on meth or something, like in a crazy episode.
Matt, remember, he said he's not playing the back and forth game, so don't.
Yeah, he's playing the back and forth inside his head. The back and forth is, I bought 9%. Oops. I'm probably in trouble with the SEC again. My lawyers tell me I can't join the board, otherwise I'm going to get sued. He already got sued. We covered that yesterday. And now he's like, well, now that I'm getting sued, make kind of a low-ball-ish, fake-ish offer that looks kind of good-ish, but also make it my best and final with, I have the right to pull out of this offer at any moment. Like, it's not a binding offer according to the SEC filing. So it's going to go to the board, who's basically been jerked around by this Jamook. And he has a cover to basically, at the end, he threatens not threateningly to say, if you don't take this offer, I will consider what to do with my shares.
Yeah, it's like you invite your friend out to dinner who you don't really like, and then you're like, why did I invite that guy out to dinner? And you know he doesn't have a lot of money, so you're like, look, we either got to go to Jean-Georges and we split the bill, or we don't go anywhere. And you know they're going to say no, right? So they're like, I can't afford it. And you're like, okay, well, sorry. I invited you.
We can't go to dinner. Yeah. I can't. That's the only place I can go to dinner.
Don't forget this, though, Matt.
We're in this. Now we're in this.
Don't forget this. He also was able to lob out his political ideology, because he also sent this in his note. I invested in Twitter as I believe in its potential to be the platform for free speech around the globe. I believe free speech is a societal imperative for a functioning democracy, blah, blah, blah. So he got to put his stake in the libertarian world that he loves to his Peter Thielian, strong baby man. Elon is not, he wasn't born in America, though, right? So we don't have to deal with this dude as our president. Thank God. Okay.
All I know is that we are in the midst of the biggest revolution since the 80s, when it was like leveraged buyouts and like all that kind of stuff, of billionaire man babies I can remember.
It's
like,
sad.
Peter Thiel going to a Bitcoin conference saying, giving a list of enemies with no, like, we're man babying over there. Zuckerberg is basically a Thiel man baby. Everybody who came out of Libertarian U, who's fighting for Musk, Trump. I mean, are we really? We're just Tucker Carlson. It's man baby time. It's just man baby time. That's all it feels like.
All right, let's before we move on to the Twitter board game, I want to say to everybody, to ISS, Vanguard, BlackRock, I'm looking at your policies, and you say things like the effect on stakeholders over the long term, market reaction, the board management oversight of the deal process. According to your policies, you should vote no on all of this. So I'm just putting it out there. I know you're listening.
Yeah, that happens.
But if I know your policies were written when you were sober, so follow them and vote no on this. So let's do this. So here's what we're gonna do, because I think this is what the deal kind of relies on, right? Because I think if there's, okay, two things. If the board votes no, I think this whole thing falls apart. Because I think then your Morgan Stanleys and BlackRocks and Vanguard start to get a little uncomfortable if there's a fight going on. But I think that even if if there's enough no's, I don't know. What do you think? Like, why do we care what the board even thinks? First of all,
well, because the board can reject this, I think, before it goes to shareholder vote as a not serious offer.
You think we should know that? You think we would know that?
I think they can. I went through every bylaw I couldn't find the charter. I went through everything I could find on the Twitter website.
I found the charter. Nothing in the charter.
So there's nothing anywhere that says how, even in the process of an acquisition, how you deal with big baby billionaires, snowflake billionaires. But I do know, just looking through the board itself, I mean, Larry Ellison is on Tesla's board. He's best friends with Mark Benioff, who's co-CEO of Salesforce with Brett Taylor, the lead independent director.
No, he's the chair. Brett Taylor's the chair.
I mean, yeah, but Jack Dorsey's still on the board, so come on.
Okay, no, okay, let's let's start over. Let's play the game. Jack Dorsey is.
Let's play the bush.
Yeah, because Jack Dorsey is due to step down from the board any day now because he's retiring at the 2022 annual meeting. Just so you know.
Well, Parag's still busy on child leave, isn't he? Like this is literally the worst child. I was on paternity leave and I worked through it. This is the worst paternity leave I could think of.
Well, I'm interested to hear what both of you think about what Parag thinks about this. So we all have a vote here. We'll go about one by one. But according to the Twitter proxy statement, there will be only 9 directors going forward because Jack Dorsey and somebody else is stepping down. So I think maybe Robert Zoellick. Is that right?
Oh, Bob Zoellick. Yeah, really.
Bob Zoellick. So I got 9 people for you. Okay, you ready? Let's do this.
Yes.
Let's try to get through this. Number 1, and this is just in the order how it's presented in the proxy. Number 1, we talked about a lot. Egon Durbin. Quickly, Egon Durbin. First of all, Elon, you know.
Yeah, it's not going to work.
Elon. He's co-CEO of Silver Lake. Silver Lake also had wrestled with Twitter for a while with a big ownership stake and a lot of proxy contest fun. Member of the Business Roundtable. Worked at Morgan Stanley's investment banking division. BS in finance from Georgetown. Those are the key parts of his background.
Well, big thing there. If he's still close to anybody at Morgan Stanley, is he calling them and saying you need to vote against?
Yes, of course. Okay, well then are you revealing your answer to what you think he's going to do?
I'm just giving you hints. Continue.
Emma, do you have a sense of what Egon Durbin is going to do? Is he pro Elon or anti Elon?
I think he's anti-Elon.
Yeah, I'm with Emma. I think it's basically because of the name. I
agree. What I literally have in my notes is their names rhyme. Too much competitive energy there.
It's too much. It's too much. But I also think that this connection that Egon has, the Business Roundtable, I just see him as a little bit more old school. He wants to be the rebel rouser in the room. He doesn't want Elon to be the one. He's the Silver Lake venture capital dude. I'm saying no. I'm saying Egon's a no. What do you think, Matt?
I mean, Egon was one of the original man babies to fight for Twitter, right? Because
this is his fight. This is
his fight. They took an activist stake. So I think he's probably man baby pissed off about this whole thing. I think
so you agree with us?
I agree with you. I think Egon's a hard no.
Okay, so moving on. It's 1-0. Let's just call this whole thing Egon versus Elon. I don't know what else to call it.
Perfect.
All right, number 2, Patrick Pichette. Here are the highlights. An MA in philosophy and economics from Oxford, where he studied as a Rhodes Scholar and the former CFO of Google. Those are the 2 highlights. So we know there's a big. What's the Google connection again, Matt?
So the Google connection. So Musk is very good friends with Sergey and Larry, the co-founders of Google, and about like 40% of this board has some Google attachment. Yeah. So there's a lot of
point
Google
out every
overlap.
time there's an overlap of Google, I'll point that out. So that's Patrick Pichette. I don't know if you want to know any other information, I can tell you, but those are the highlights. I don't know who wants to go first on Patrick.
I can.
Okay,
go,
Emma.
He's gonna be a no.
You know what?
Really?
I'm agreeing with Emma because he was CFO of Google. I find that like to be slightly removed from like the techie take over the worldness of a company. Like CFO's a numbers cruncher, and I'm really concerned about his degree from Oxford, where he was a Rhodes Scholar. I think this is like an old school versus a new school battle. I don't think he likes Elon. I don't think he vibes with him. So
as per usual, I made my decision based off of pretty irrelevant information, such as
great.
Him being involved in protecting like Canadian nature and being involved in, I believe, curing cataracts in the Himalayas.
Hey, I think that's enough.
That's what I'm going with.
Because he also studied at a university in Montreal, and Montreal.
Get over it.
I know Montreal. They hate Elon Musk. Every time I go there, that's the first thing they say to me on the street is, "What's the deal with Elon Musk?"
All the time.
So I'm also a no on Patrick Pichette. Matt, you got any thoughts
I think
here?
you're both wrong. I think Pichette, it was at Google. He's the CFO of Google between 2008 and 2015. That's 7 years
ago.
That he spent basically hand in hand with the Google founders, who were both very active in the company at the time. They're less active now. They're just quiet 51% share vote owners. but they're not actively in the day-to-day, which means I think there's a lot of camaraderie. And if Elon makes this offer, who does Patrick Pichette call first? So does he call his mom? Calls his uncle? No, he's calling Sergey or Larry and being like, hey, man, what do you think? And they're like, dude, bail on this now.
He was also
no way you want to be a part of this big man baby problem.
So how do we decide? Are we doing this straight democracy, or Matt, do you have like double voting rights? What's your
No. We're just we're gonna do straight democracy, and
okay,
you're both
so that's
wrong.
a no.
That's fine. I just like to be right later. That's all.
I will say former chair of Twitter, Patrick Pichette.
Yeah, he's saying yes. He
here's
knows
a big
the
one.
shit show that this is.
The next one's a big one. That's the current CEO, Parag Agrawal, took over as CEO, I think, in late 2021, and he, as part of background, he's been at Twitter for a long time. He's a PhD in computer science from Stanford, the Libertarian University out in California that maybe you've heard of. That's the background on Parag. This is a big one. I don't know who wants to go here first. I have thoughts.
Go with your thoughts.
I think when he took over Twitter, I sensed a man who was just like, what the hell? Like, I don't want to deal with this. Like, this is a nightmare. This company is a nightmare. I have a PhD in computer science. Don't get me wrong. I love algorithms. I love all the nerdy stuff. Like, I'm the right guy for a technology company like this, but I hate Twitter. I hate social media. I can't stand this. So I think he's secretly thrilled to have it go private. He can disappear. He can hide. Maybe he won't even be CEO anymore. Whatever. He'll get a lot of money. He'll just be gone. I just don't think he wants this. Hey, I mean, one of the first things he did when he took over CEO is leave. He stayed home. That's one of his first actions, was staying home.
That's what I did.
Right. So I just think I think he's a yes on Musk going private. I think he just wants to bail out of this. That's my thought.
Emma's shaking her head no.
I think he's a no. I don't think that one finds themselves on a CEO track if they are not interested in being CEO of something. Like there aren't that many CEO positions open for S&P 500 companies. There are 500 of them, as it were. And I think you probably want to be CEO, like, pretty bad if you end up being a CEO. And he just became fucking CEO. I don't think he just got there to just throw it all away and make it private. He still has shares to vest. He still has connections to make. He has other boards to get on. I think he's a no.
I don't think he wanted that role. Matt, you get to be tiebreaker.
I think, look, by our own metrics, Parag has half the influence of Jack Dorsey still on this board, because Dorsey is still there. And when you go to a board meeting and you're sitting
for
in
a
the
month,
room,
he's going to be leaving in a few weeks.
When you're sitting in the room with the founder and there's a massive crisis at the company and you're the current CEO, you're 37 years old. I mean, he's like
37.
He's 37 years old. He's not like some grizzled old vet. He's sitting there, and I think he's probably patiently waiting out to see what everybody says. And if Jack says go with Elon, he's going to say, okay, I think it means we have to hear him out. And I think Jack's going to say, listen, hear him out, send it to the shareholders. I think Parag's a yes. I'm with Damien.
Really?
Yeah,
okay.
I think he is.
Oh, okay. So it's on my side there. Okay, sorry, Emma. Yeah, I mean, I don't actually have Jack Dorsey on this list. We can cover him later, 'cause I don't actually have a clear thought of how he'd be thinking about this. I don't think he probably agrees that he wants Twitter to go private.
I think stopping being CEO and getting off this board and having an activist was the greatest. It was like a gift to him to get off. He's so stoked to just do yoga and
question about Jack's involvement.
Yeah.
So Jack Dorsey, didn't he recently have some quote where he was saying that he was part of the issue with centralizing the internet?
Yeah, he's had a lot of guilt over.
Yeah,
he does. Yeah.
So do we think that his sense of guilt might contribute in one way or the other, which also leads to the question of, is fixing the centralization of the internet helped or hindered by making Twitter private?
But Jack Dorsey's the one who banned Donald Trump. But that was a big move. I just don't think he'd be comfortable with going into Musk's hands. I don't know. That's just me.
Look, they're digital friends. You can read all about their friendship, and I think that Jack Dorsey has been desperate to not be the only adult in the room. Like, he's the most adult of the man-baby class.
And he wants Elon. He said, who can I call up as an adult?
I think he doesn't.
Bring, bring,
I think at
Elon.
this point, I think he's not like, I did as much as I can for this. Like, I don't have a social responsibility to save the universe from loving man-baby billionaires.
But I know
I'm just gonna get out of the way.
Maybe, but I know what he wants. He wants Parag as CEO, and he wants Brett Taylor, the co-CEO of Salesforce, to be the chair. I think that's what he was comfortable with, frankly.
I think that's what Silver Lake wanted.
All right, moving on. Mimi Alamehu. Hear the background on her. Well, first of all, it's a woman. That might be important.
Amazing.
It's important to my
That's
vote. MasterCard. She has that in her background. Senior vice president, and I don't know if I pointed out yesterday, but according to Peter Thiel, MasterCard is definitely like on the enemies list. Okay, because they're old school. No, he did mention them.
Yeah.
Also, Blackstone had involvement with Africa. Worked for President Obama. Worked for President Bush. She has government and regulatory experience. So this is a serious person, and I'll just go with my vote first. That's why I'm going hard no here. Part of the reason she's a woman, I think she just hates Elon Musk because he's creepy. But I just think she's more old school. I don't think she likes this. That's just my honest reaction.
I'm going to agree with you. She's a no, because I think she's a real human being, and she's probably. Here's my guess. She seems like the kind of person who takes her job seriously, and if you take your job seriously, this is not a serious man. And these are you
Good
are
point.
basically you are the one who's like, you need to go play in the corner with your toys and let us do some serious work here. Unfortunately, I think her no is basically useless because no one listens to Mimi.
Speaking of serious, she got her master's at Tufts, and there's no more serious place than Tufts. Emma, your vote does not matter at all here. But what is your vote?
Okay, good to know. To quote myself in my notes, I say Mimi is going to think this is bullshit.
Yeah.
This is a no.
You had me at bullshit. Okay, that's 3-1.
You had me at quote myself.
So the no's are winning it right now, 3-1 against Elon. Here, the next one's an interesting one too. This is the former executive chair of Twitter, Omid Kordestani. His background is very googly.
Yes.
A little bit of Netscape that Matt likes to point out, which means he's old school internet.
I love it.
And also, and maybe importantly too, MBA from Stanford. So there's a lot here that would make me think that he's a yes. I think he's playing the power game. We talked about Omid a few years back. I think he's always desperate to regain power at Twitter, and I think he's gonna try to play this to whatever Elon comes up with in the private version of this company. I think Omid wants to be a big player, so I think he's a big yes.
I think he's a yes also. I'm going to say yes. He's part of the Stanford Mafia, the Libertarian University Mafia. Going back to his Netscape days, that was like when the internet was an unfiltered, unregulated nonsense pit. That it currently also is today, right?
That's true. Yeah.
That we basically just moved from like browsers into the metaverse. But I think he likes that. In fact, he's sitting on the board of Pearson, an education company, which is one of those companies that I think of when I think like, oh, let's privatize everything that like we can, including educating our young people and maybe like, access to water and toilets and everything. Let's just privatize it all. I think he's a yes. I think he's a hard yes.
Emma?
I also think he's a hard yes, but I have to admit that I haven't been paying attention to what you've been saying for the last 45 seconds or so.
Yeah, me too. I get zoned out.
Because I am planning Elon Musk's biopic called Not a Serious Man in my head. So.
Oh, I like it. It's funny. That's why I also tuned out. It wasn't because of Matt's brilliant words. I was planning the same biopic in my head.
Yeah.
Right.
I knew. We were vibing.
Yeah. Moving on, another woman, believe it or not, Martha Lane Fox. Here's a little bit of her background. Chair at Lucky Voice Group, a private karaoke company.
Yeah.
Somehow she was a peer in the House of Lords in the UK. I don't really get that one. Founder and chair of .everyone.org, an organization advancing the understanding of technology.
Whatever
That's somewhat creepy. A chancellor of Open University. I don't know what Open University is. A director of lastminute.com. That sounds downright scary. A director at Chanel. But here's a bit of a wild card. BA in history from Oxford. So she's a confusing one to me.
I can do this.
Yeah, you go first.
I'm going to stick with what we talked about on a show a couple weeks ago. I'm going to give Martha Lane Fox a yes, because I do think that behind every egomaniac is a white woman enabler. And I think Martha Lane Fox fills that role really nicely.
The new Grimes. Matt, do you have a vote?
I think no, and I think no because what she's gonna do is she's going to say to Elon, "I'd prefer if you bought Lucky Voice Group because being on a chair of a private karaoke company seems stupid."
Okay, I'm the tiebreaker. I love being the tiebreaker. She's a confusing one to me. She's got a lot of serious, although, that was a long time ago. BA in history at Oxford. That's cool. That's a long time ago.
How dare you ageist her?
And I don't really understand this House of Lords thing. If it was House of Commons,
I think you just buy that. I think
if it was because House of Lords is the rich one. There's the House of Commons
in monarchies, hypothetically, or I mean, I guess the UK is really the only living monarchy, but I think that it's a thing where rich people who want status can basically buy status by like being in the House of Lords or whatever. Someone can totally correct me on that though.
Yeah, I agree with you. So she is, and here's the part that bothers me. She's very frivolous in her current companies. A karaoke company, lastminute.com. I just see this as someone who's just looking for more money. So I think she's, sorry, Matt, I think she's a yes. I think she just wants to ride the Musk train. I just think she's on it. She's on it.
So what do we got now? What's the score?
We're tied 3-3.
3-3.
And we have 3 directors left. Remember, again, we don't have Jack Dorsey on this list because, and maybe he could be maybe he could be a potential
tiebreaker.
Yeah, but he is technically leaving the board. But let's keep going. Here's a fascinating one. Fei-Fei Li, Dr. Fei-Fei Li. Yeah. She is a professor at another woman, professor at Stanford, co-director of Stanford's Human Certified Artificial Intelligence Institute. Also was the former director of Stanford's AI lab. She also comes from Google, but she was not educated at Stanford. She was actually educated at Princeton and the University of Illinois. This is a very serious woman involved in the sciences. That's all. That's really all I can say. Heavy in on AI, which might sway your decision. She's a tough one, so I don't know who wants to go first on this one.
I can because I've actually changed my tune since we last discussed Dr. Lee. I think that she's going to be a yes. Mm-hmm. All the AI stuff is what is convincing me. Like anyone who is that deep into AI, I think is going to be pretty pro Elon Musk. Yeah.
I mean, I don't know if your opinion differs, Matt, but no, it doesn't. I think originally I thought that she was going to join forces with Musk for world domination. It does seem like the perfect tandem. I mean, his money, her brains, they're both into creepy AI world building. I don't know. So she seemed like a yes to me.
I mean, she's into the AI, the part of AI too. It's like the ethics of AI, but so Musk has talked about that also, and I feel she's a yes.
But he decides to buy companies in 2 days. So his decision on the ethics of AI is probably like 6 or 7 days.
Capital markets aren't AI. We don't care about like running people over with our cars.
All right.
We care about money.
I hate to tell you, but Musk is currently in the lead 4-3. Let's move on to David Rosenblatt.
No.
Oh, okay. He's actually been a director for 12 years. That's a long time for this company. He is the CEO of something called FirstDibs.com.
Oh, yeah.
I guess it's like an eBay knockoff. Other important background, Google, another Google dude. And even creepier, he was the president of global display advertising at Google. That doesn't sound
whatever that is.
Yeah. He also, another one, MBA from Stanford. Okay.
Ew.
And then finally, a tidbit that might be interesting to Matt. He's a current director at IAC Interactive Core. So I think you have something to say about that. But you're a hard what?
I did some hardcore sleuthing about who best friends, CEOs, billionaires are, and one of the man baby billionaire couples that popped up was Barry Diller, who is the chair of IAC, and Jeff Bezos, who is Musk's sworn enemy in the space dick race war. I think David Rosenblatt says, who sits on IAC's board, it says you can't diss Barry and Uncle Hefe. F you, Elon. Bring an adult in the room.
Wow. What do you think, Emma?
I said no.
Oh, wow.
I did say no. And I think it
Okay,
was
Matt
just...
swayed you. Yeah.
No, it was before. I'd made this decision
Okay.
before Matt started talking, and now Matt has me all confused as to why I said no in the first place.
Yeah. I think,
So I'm sticking with my no, but I don't know why.
I think you're both crazy. I honestly, like, this guy sounds sleazy to me. President of Global Display Advertising at Google. He also was part of DoubleClick, another ad company.
Yeah.
MBA from Stanford. I'm sorry.
These are
He's
like
the CEO of a company that just sells shit. This guy is looking for money. I don't know what you guys are talking about. I had a hard
like
yes.
The height of mediocre.
I had a hard
internet.
yes.
This is
okay, but
mediocre internet.
I wish I could overrule you. I wish we were a dual class voting game, but okay, we are now tied 4-4
going into our final non-Dorsey board member.
Yeah, non-Dorsey board member, and this is the current chair. He's been chair since the leadership turnover there.
Ago.
Yeah, exactly 9 seconds ago. And that's Brett Taylor. Why is he interesting? Co-CEO of Salesforce, along with Mark Benioff. And as much as Emma hates this, we always call Salesforce a little more adulty than some of them because they seem to care. They're like ESG darlings along with Microsoft. But Brett, former chief technology officer at Facebook, former group product manager at Google, MS in computer science from Stanford.
That is just the egomaniac
murderer's
trifecta
row
right
of
there.
terrible.
Yeah. Emma, so I'm guessing you're going to say what?
Honestly, I had this out of everything. I think between Feifei and Brett, I was having a very hard time with those two specifically, and I think I landed on yes.
Oh, can I try to convince you to no? Can I try to convince you?
Yeah, you can try. I'm easily convinced.
No, because he knows I'm going to be a yes. He wants to win.
I think this guy's seeking power in general. I think he's not the chair of Twitter.
CEO that's seeking.
I don't think he wants Twitter to go away. I think he wants to be he's going to be the CEO of Salesforce one day when Benioff eats too many smash burgers. I think that I think this guy seeks power. I think the chair of Twitter is a feather in his cap. He wants to remain in a public market. He does not want this to go behind the shadows. He wants to be a star. This dude is a ladder. He's a ladder climber. I mean, he does not want to go in obscurity. I think it's the worst case scenario for him that Twitter goes bye-bye and Elon controls it. So I think he's a no. But Matt disagrees. So you also
he's a yes.
Sway you, Emma?
And here's why.
Yeah.
He's the co-CEO with Mark Benioff, who is best friends with Larry Ellison, who is literally the poster child of the original libertarian movement.
It's true.
Like he's the OG libertarian. He's on Musk's board at Tesla. He is one of the early investors in a number of these places.
You're talking about Ellison.
He's got direct connects at Facebook still because he was CTO there, which means Peter Thiel, you're the CTO of Facebook, you go in front of the board, even if the board is make-believe. Like that Peter Thielian group that connects right back to Musk. For Brett Taylor, Elon Musk probably hangs out at parties with Brett Taylor. There is no way that guy says no. There's no way he says no. There's too much social risk. Forget laddering.
Yeah, I think you've even swayed me because I was thinking more like that he wants to break away. I mean, how emasculating is it for this poor guy to be co-CEO of anything? I'm thinking maybe he wants to break away, break the chains, but I think you might be right. Like the risk of excommunication from the Church of Libertarian Tech, right, is probably too much for poor old Brett. All right, so I'll agree with both of you. So,
wow.
So the
this
yes
is happening.
The yeses have it.
The Twitter board will vote. Well, okay. I don't know about there are two directors who are retiring. But we got to end the show eventually. But according to us, it's 5-4 in favor of Musk, which means what? Wrap us up, Matt. What does that mean?
It means that this is the stupidest man-baby war, and it's going to go to shareholders to decide. Hey, before we end the show, just a couple of things to keep in mind, shareholders, okay? And I'm talking to you. I'm talking to you, CalPERS, because none of this, like, you may be looking at this and be like, oh, it's great for our pensioners. No, it's not. No one cares. Here's what I think. Elon Musk is paying $48 billion in cash for Twitter for fun.
Yeah.
That is Twitter's R&D budget last year was $2.5 billion. They recalled something like 450,000 cars. Mm-hmm. If you actually could build the products with another $48 billion in cash, why doesn't he invest that? Where's the Tesla board? Where's the board of Tesla calling up Elon being like, you want to spend $48 billion in cash? Spend it on your own fucking companies. You've got 2 companies you're currently running
trying to get to Mars.
Who could use some goddamn cash.
Yeah. It must be expensive to get to Mars, right?
Spend it's gotta be more. Here.
Yeah. It's got to be more than my $4 ferry ticket. Now listen.
And if you are the UN, pick up the phone and be like, "Hey Elon, remember that time you tweeted prove to us what you could do with $6 billion to stop world hunger? You're paying 8 times world hunger for man-baby troll time. Yeah. What a waste of fucking money. What a waste of money. This is why there can't be billionaires making decisions about their billions. It should all go into a trust where we all get to vote on it because it's the stupidest fucking thing I've ever heard.
And before we get out of here, for all you analysts who listen just to steal our ideas for your boring reports, you're welcome. Because we gave you a lot of stuff you can write about. Really, there's plenty of fodder here. You can do a whole board analysis. You can impress your boss today. Maybe get out a little bit early. Get an early dinner. Maybe go to a show. I mean, come on.
It's a nice day in the Northeast.
All right.
That's all we got. That's Free Float Media and Business Pants and Damian Rallis and Emma Lurking, and I am Matt Mascardi. Come back some other time. Tomorrow, we're going to have some fancy expert clips, actually. We're talking to an Australian fancy expert tonight, and we'll play bits of it probably tomorrow. And you'll hear that. Otherwise, we'll be back someday. Goodbye.